Hi, Ashley. Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Well,
Hi.
welcome to the second day of Festivalya. This is the first young adult festival in Romania. It's organized online by Trei Publishing House and by Cărțile, this wonderful, amazing bookstore chain that I invite you to visit someday after
Yes,
pandemia.
I would love to.
We are talking today about 10 Blind Dates, your last novel, translated into Romania. And I will show you, I don't know if you already...
Oh, I haven't seen it. It's so cute.
You love the cover?
I love the cover. I love it. I love it. I have not seen it before.
Okay, I'm very happy that you like it because we loved it very much.
Yes, I love it.
So this book, translated into Romania, is already sold in 23 countries. Is it true, or it's already more?
Yes, 23 or 24, I think, right in there.
Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is.
So I will start, in order to warming up the dialogue, I will start to ask you some questions, and I will invite our participants to join me step by step. Everyone feel free to ask questions, press the button you have on the screen, and you will take the floor as soon as the previous answer finishes. So, first of all, I enjoyed a lot your book because it's a romantic comedy which is so funny and so sweet, and it says about how it says how important it is for young people to be able to open to their families, to trust their relatives. So. Yeah, I'm going to confess you something. In fact, I would have liked to read such a book when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I have understood sooner, in fact, that keeping bad feelings and deception for yourself doesn't always make you stronger. So this was the lesson your book told me.
Well, thank you very much. I come from a very big family, and so, lots of cousins and, lots of aunts and uncles. And so this book is very close to my heart because it's kind of not like my family, but, feels like my big family.
So, in fact, I'm pretty sure that everyone here have already read your novel. But I like very much listening how an author talks about her or his book. So could you tell us what your last novel is about?
Yes, so 10 Blind Dates is about Sophie, who at the beginning of her Christmas break, her parents are leaving to go stay with the older sister who is on bed rest with her first pregnancy. And she's hoping to spend that time with her boyfriend, but the boyfriend breaks up with her. And so she goes to the grandmother's house, and she's very sad and brokenhearted. And the grandmother, who's kind of in everybody's business, she decides to help Sophie get over that broken heart. Surely we know some cute boys. And they try to set her up on dates. And it's, as awkward as you would imagine one of your aunts or uncles trying to hook you up with somebody. But to me, the book is more about family, and the dates are fun, but it's really more about Sophie and her cousins and her family and kind of discovering who she is and who she wants to be.
Mm-hmm. About the title, why blind dates are so special to you?
I met my husband on a blind date 28 years ago. On Valentine's Day, we had some friends set us up on a date, and it's worked out well. We've been married for 23 years. We have 3 sons. So, blind dates have always had a special place in my heart, for that reason. I think they're kind of fun. You never know what you're going to get. It's kind of like, a mystery. Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be weird? Is it, so much you can do with it.
So romantic and so beautiful. How did you start to write? In fact, was it a passion that you had in your childhood, or was it something that comes later in your life? The pleasure of writing.
I was always a reader. I loved to read as a little girl. I would read over watching TV. When I first got married, I was a photographer. I took pictures at weddings. And it was a good business, and I enjoyed taking pictures. But after I had my third son, I was a little overwhelmed and a little burnt out, and so I was just going to take a break from the photography business. And but I think I was missing that creative outlet, and I kind of had an idea for something, didn't really think much of it. And I just started writing kind of for fun, and I was probably close to 40, and I thought, well, this will just be something fun. And then I kind of wrote a whole book, and then I show it to my husband, and he's like, well, what are you going to do with it now? And I said, I have no idea. So I looked through all of what it takes to get published, and I knew you needed an agent. So I went through all of, what it takes to get an agent, which is not very fun. But I found a wonderful agent who I'm still with, and she sold, my first book to Disney, and that was in 2011. And so I've kind of been doing that ever since, which is very crazy because it was not what I thought I would ever do. I never thought I would publish a book. I didn't think I could. So it's just been wonderful.
So look at us. We are here, very glad to share
I see.
a common world. How was you as a teenager? In fact, what do you mean? Do you have an open dialogue with your family? Was it a grandmother like Sophie's Nana in your childhood?
Yes, I come from an Italian family, and I had a Nana, and she was always cooking. And she was, I had cousins. We were all the same age. My mother is one of 7 children. And the oldest 4 are all sisters, 4 girls in a row. And so all of us, the kids were all around the same age, and we would go stay with my grandparents as a group. So there'd be 6 or 7 of us at one time, stay with my grandparents. It was kind of wild. But she was a school teacher, and so she kept us all in line, and she would make us do projects. She would teach us how to sew, or she would teach us how to cook, and she always to keep us busy. But she was a wonderful, wonderful grandmother, and I had a wonderful family. It was big and it was loud, and but we're still very close to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sophie is a wonderful character, but also this grandma is absolutely amazing, because she's the kind of person who can do the other to open the heart. It's a chance to have someone like that in your life.
Yes. My grandmother passed away in 2014, and everybody was there together. And she would always say her biggest accomplishment was all of the family, the big family that she was going to leave behind. And so she was a wonderful, wonderful woman. And so I thought about her as I wrote this book, and it was sort of my love letter to my family.
Mm-hmm. If you were to accept a piece of advice from an adult when you were a teenager, which one would have been that?
If I had to accept a piece of advice, I didn't hear the rest of it. What was the rest of the question?
From an adult. Which one would have been?
I don't know. I was very, very hard-headed as a teenager, so I don't. I'm sure there's a lot of advice offered to me. I'm not sure that I ever took it. And now that I have kids, my oldest son is 20. I try to give advice to them, and they don't listen, and I have to remember that I did not listen either. So it's funny now when you're on the other side of that. I don't know.
This is the reason that I ask you this question, because I am a mother also, and because I know how difficult it is to make an advice and to find the way for this dialogue with the young people. And because your book, it's almost about this thing, about how to be able to communicate, how to be able to listen to each other, in fact. It's in
Yeah.
both.
I hope my kids listen to me. I think they do sometimes they don't. But I do think I've got a pretty open communication with my kid. I think I do. I mean, I hope I do. I don't know.
Anyway, this book is an advice in itself, because the key of the book is trust yourself, trust the ones that you love, and try to be yourself. Open your mind in order to be a better oneself than if you stay closed.
Yes.
Who did you think when you create your main character, Sophie? Did you write this novel having someone in mind, in particular, you, or I don't know, someone, your cousin?
It wasn't. I get asked a lot. Is that me? And it's really not. Like, I will put things in a book that is very much from my life, like a big family. Like that big family is from my life. My family is Italian, so those are things that I can write, very well because I live that, but I don't see myself as Sophie at all. When I start thinking of a story, I think of what I want to happen first. So I kind of think more plot than, I guess, character at the beginning. And then kind of once I get my plot in my mind where I think I'm going to go, then I start thinking about, okay, well, who would tell this story? And, I start, kind of building from there. And I may take pieces from people I've met in real life or, different characters, but they definitely become their own person in my mind. They are, it's Sophie. I wouldn't say it's, oh, my cousin Kate, that I've turned into Sophie. It's just Sophie. And it's sort of a weird thing. And I don't really describe it very well, but they just sort of, they're just their own person. And that's a terrible answer, but I don't really know, but I do use influences that I have come across to sort of build that character. But then once it's them, it's nobody else.
Oh, it's amazing. Sophie is someone by herself.
Yes. Yes.
But she stays independently. I would like our participants to join us for this discussion. I am expecting and waiting for their questions. And I don't speak anymore, waiting for them to join the discussion.
Okay.
Okay, I still had questions, but Miruna is already asking one. So, Miruna Dudu. Miruna is here? I don't know why she cannot have access, but anyway, the Miruna questions was, how old were you when you realized that you wanted to become a writer?
When I first started writing my first book, I was 37, almost 38. And then when it was published, it was right before my 40th birthday. And I'll be 47 in October, to kind of give you an idea about how long ago. I did not ever think, I love to read. I did not think I could be a writer until I was much, much older.
What would you say to someone, to a young people who wants to start to write but doesn't yet have the courage to do it?
My best advice is to read. Read everything. Read things that you don't think that you would like, because I think inspiration can hit you from a lot of different places. And when you start to write, just write for yourself. I think a lot of people start writing with that hope and anticipation that it'll be this great book one day. And that puts a lot of pressure on the writer. When I first started writing my first book, I didn't think anybody would ever want to read it. And so I just sort of wrote it for myself, like as, as if you would, watch a movie or make something or paint something. Just, it was just something I did for me. And that gave me the freedom to write it the way that I wanted to write it without the fear that people wouldn't like it, because I didn't think anybody would ever read it. And so, a lot of it is when you say the courage to write, well, you start out doing it just for yourself. You're the only one that has to like it. Nobody else really has to like it, and that kind of gets that ball rolling to where you can actually put the words on paper, I think.
You have already written and published 3 books, legal thrillers, and 10 Blind Dates is the 4th one.
It's the 5th. 10 Blind Dates is the 5th.
Okay.
So I have 4 before 10 Blind Dates.
There are legal thriller also, all 4 of them.
Mm-hmm. They're all mystery thrillers. And then I started writing this silly date book. I don't know where it came from, but yeah.
But what determined you to write rather young adult books, than adult books, for example?
I like reading mysteries and thrillers. I like watching movies that, like who did it? I want to, where's try to solve the mystery before, they tell it to you. So when I first started writing, that's what I was writing. That's what I was interested in. I loved crafting a story where I wanted you to be surprised at the end or have a fun plot twist in there. But the 10 Blind Dates was kind of a whole different deal. So I would write the story and I would send it to my editor, and it would take a couple of months to get my edit letter back. And so in that time when I'm waiting for my book to come back from edits, I just started playing around with this 10 Blind Date story, and it was really just for fun on the side, kind of incorporating that big family and where there wasn't always a murder and there was no police involved. I mean, it was just something lighthearted and fun to kind of bide my time between edits. And so when I told my editor about it, I didn't think she would want it because it wasn't a mystery or thriller. And that's kind of what I was, that was my lane. I thought I needed to stay in my lane, but she loved it. And so it's been very surprising that this book has done what it's done, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about the project you are working just now? Are you writing a book, or do you plan to do it?
I'm writing a companion to 10 Blind Dates. It's called 10 Truths and a Dare, and it follows Olivia, the cousin Olivia. It's a story from her point of view, but Sophie and Wes and Charlie are all in it, and it's set during graduation. And all the graduation parties that we do here, like before graduation, and the chaos ensues with the family. So the family's all there, and I'm pretty excited about it.
We have a question from Andrea.
Hello, Ashley.
Hi.
I am Andrea, and I really, really appreciate what you do, and I love your characters. I think they are so complex. And I had one tiny question for you that I was inspired to ask based on what you said a bit earlier. What would you say were some of the things that inspired you most in your career? Like, what did you take inspiration from? Yeah, I think.
I get that a lot, and that's a very hard question to ask. To answer, because all of my books are very different, and I came up with that idea for each book in a very different way. And so my book, This Is Our Story, was my mother had gotten chosen for jury duty, and I'm not sure if y'all have that same legal system where you are, but go to sit in the jury and listen to a case and whatever. And something about what she said and sort of complaining about being called to jury duty kind of, spark this, well, what if this? And I built that whole story on, well, what if this? And if I can answer that question, well, then what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? But then like 10 Blind Dates was really, thinking about my family and that chaos of growing up in a big family. And so, to me, inspiration kind of hits you when you least expect it. And it's either something you see or something someone says to you or something you read, and all of a sudden you have this, well, gosh, what if I take this and then turn it? What if I do this? And it's that what if questions you keep answering. And all of a sudden you've built this sort of story. It's kind of a weird way to explain it, but that's normally how my ideas hit me, or in regular everyday conversations or life. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hold on. That little thing was very interesting to me. What can I do with it? So it's kind of strange, but that's kind of how it works for me.
Catalina wants to ask a question. Catalina.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
I really appreciate your books, and I want to ask you something about This Is Our Story.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to know if you made a plan before actually starting to write a book, where you decided where did it happen, who did it, when did it happen, and the evidence that Kate was going to find, or if you just find out along with Kate.
I had for This Is Our Story, like I was saying, my mother had gotten called for jury duty, and we had this whole conversation about how the legal system works, and how if you have somebody on the jury that believes a certain thing, how it could affect the case. This was the conversation that kind of sparked that idea. And so I thought, well, so I wrote the opening scene of that book, which is where, he gets murdered right on the first sentence. He's dead in the woods. And I wrote that scene not knowing why he was dead or who did it. It just sort of, that scene came to me and I wrote it. And then I was like, oh gosh, I really like this, but why? Why did this happen? And so I think I knew I wanted some big moments to happen, but I didn't quite know how I would get there until I started writing. And that's not always the best way to do it, but it is the way that works for me, because I give myself the freedom to sort of change directions. If something feels right as I'm writing, and I don't feel like I have to stick to this very structured plan that I made in advance. So I'm definitely more kind of by the seat of my pants writer. And so, I kind of figured out with Kate, and I think that's fun. That's a fun way to write for me, but it's also a little bit hard because you don't really know where you're going, but I kind of get there in the end.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? So Emma Enake wrote us the following. Unfortunately, I can't speak, so I will write the question here. Have you ever thought about other ending for This Is Our Story?
Yes, I had about 3 or 4 different things that I wanted to, I thought about going with that book, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hadn't read it, but there was one character that I really wanted her to be the shooter, but I could not get it to work realistically and logistically. So, but what I ended up with is really where it should have ended. And so once I kind of get my mind right that was the ending, then I'm good and I'm happy with it. But yeah, in any kind of murder mystery book, I think you try to think of as many different ways that it could go before you finally get there.
I would have liked to ask you something about the adaptation, the Netflix adaptation. Yeah. Could you tell us something? Is it in progression? Are you involved in the making of the?
From what I understand, and they are very nice, where they kind of keep me a little bit in the loop, but I'm not in the project, I guess is the best way to say. They are working on the screenplay right now, and I'm hoping to see a draft of that soon. The coronavirus has really kind of slowed down that business a lot right now, as with everything else. I think we were hoping to see a script in February or March, but then, that kind of did not happen. So my understanding is I would see a screenplay soon. And then I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I don't know.
We are waiting for see the film.
Yeah. Yes, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
And do you plan, I don't know, to write something which is similar with 10 Blind Dates?
Well, the companion, will be similar, but then after that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to stay with the lighthearted, kind of rom-com. I don't know if I want to go back to the murder mystery. I guess I'll see what hits me when I get there. I don't know.
I like very much when I don't know, a writer starts to do something totally different, and that makes helps him discover another side of.
Yeah. Nobody died in these books. Yeah, that was a first for me.
About becoming and about discovering herself during the writing process.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
If you could be one of the characters from 10 Blind Dates or for any of your books, which one would you like to be?
Probably from 10 Blind Dates, I would like to be Charlie. I think Charlie has the most fun. I love Charlie. He's just lots and lots of fun. From This Is Our Story, there's some not nice people in that book. I don't know. Probably Kate. I would be Kate. Yeah.
Do you love all your characters in the same way, the good one and the bad one?
Yes, and I love the bad ones. Like in the murder mystery books, I love them. You need them. They have to be there. They have to be bad. I think it's fun sometimes to write the bad guy because you just get to be, you're not supposed to be bad in real life, but you can be bad on that page. And that's kind of, it's fun to sort of push the boundaries on those kind of characters. So I love the bad guys. I don't know that I would want to be them, but I do like writing them. So yeah, I love them all differently, but I do like the bad guys.
I'm not a writer, but I think that I imagine that an author love more the bad character because it's like a kind of I don't know, shadow of himself.
Yeah.
Something that you can avoid to be, so you can avoid by writing about it.
Yes, it's fun.
We have here we have 2 questions. The first one was for Teodora Mursa, and after that we have another one from Emma Enake.
Okay.
So, Teodora Mursa. Teodora?
Hi.
Hi.
So I was wondering, how long did it take to write This Is Our Story?
When I first had the idea, okay, so This Is Our Story was my 3rd book with the same publisher and the same editor. And so I didn't have to write the whole book for them to buy it because I had already written books for them. So I at that point in my career, I was what you call, I would sell on proposal. So I would have to give them a general idea of what the book was about and then a short sample. And I would send it to them and they would decide whether or not they wanted it. So that's what I did for This Is Our Story. I wrote probably the first 3 chapters and kind of gave them a general idea of where I wanted to go with it. And they were like, oh, yes, we want it. And so then at that point, I was on deadline and I had a specific date that I had to turn the first draft in. And so I think they gave me 4 months, which is really not that long. So I had to write the whole draft in 4 months. And that's kind of how it works for me now, is it's timetable. So they say they want it and they want to publish it, on this date. Well, to make this date, we have to hit here, 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 and here through the process. So, yeah.
Is it not stressful at all? Like, do you ever have moments when you just stare at the blank page and can't find your words?
All the time. It's very stressful. And, I'm at some point in every book I've written, I want to say, never mind, we're not doing this. I can't do it. And then I kind of regroup and I'm like, okay, I can do this. So it is very stressful. And, especially when they bought it, it will be published and, are my readers going to like it? And it's a lot of stuff in your head that goes on at the same time. So, but you got to treat it like a job, just like any other job. And, you got to kind of power through and get there. And you have to give yourself permission that the first draft is not great. And the first draft is never great. That's what the editor is for. And that's what the edit letters are for. And you go through 2 or 3 rounds to get it right. And so you just, at first draft, you got to get the story on the page and then you fix all the little problems later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Emma, who previously asked you a question about This Is Our Story, has the second one, the following one. Also, I have to confess that I was really shocked when I found out the second book. So my question is, can you tell us a little bit about what is so different in the second book?
The second book of, which second book is she talking about?
We are waiting for Emma to ask her question in more clearly, because I think that she wanted to make the connection, because the first one and the second book. Anyway,
is she talking about the 10 Truths and a Dare? She's talking about the companion to 10 Blind Dates?
No. I think she will write her question, but meanwhile we can take Justina.
Okay.
Justina?
Hi, Ashley. I wanted to ask you a random question. What's your favorite place in the world?
Oh, gosh. I was lucky enough as a young girl, my family loved to travel. And so we traveled a lot, and I still have family in Italy. And so we would go to Italy and visit, relatives there. I always loved that. My husband loves Costa Rica. He loves to fish, and they surf. My kids surf, and so that's a favorite place for me, Costa Rica. And we love to snow ski, so we love to go to the mountains. I don't know that I can pick a favorite. It's like picking a favorite child. I like to go. I want to see as much as I can see. And one thing that I was really excited about when this 10 Blind Dates sold to so many countries, in my mind, I thought, well, I need to go everywhere it is, just so that I can, be where my book is. And, then the coronavirus happened, but I'm still hoping to hit as many countries as I can. And then I love home. I love home. Home is a favorite spot too. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway, it's amazing for everyone who loves the home, his own or her own home, because now we all have to stay at home.
Yeah, it's amazing if you still love your home after the last 6 months, but I do. We live out in the country, and it's very peaceful, and it doesn't look any different than it's always looked. There's never anybody around here, so it's kind of the same.
Theodora has another question, and I think that she can ask you directly. Theodora?
Okay, so I wanted to ask if you have a favorite book, and what is that?
I get asked this a lot. it's kind of like being asked if I have a favorite child. Of course, my older kids will tell you that the baby is the favorite. He kind of is, but no. I like my books for different reasons. I love my first book because it was the first book, and it's what got me into publishing. It was one I didn't, I wrote it for me, and it ended up being a thing, and so I love it. I love 10 Blind Dates because it's been so well received around the world, and that's been a wonderful feeling. I mean, I like them all for very different reasons. I don't know that I have a favorite.
I'm sorry, I was unclear. I meant not one of your books, like a book.
Oh, somebody else's book.
Yes.
Who do I like? I like to read. I read adult and I read YA. I try to read different than what I write. Just because I think it's interesting to see what everybody else is kind of doing. One of my very good friends, Megan Miranda, I don't know if you've ever read any of hers. She has, several YA books, but then she's writing adult now too. I adore her books. And then Elle Cosimano is another favorite of mine, and she just came out with a book called Something Seasons. That's kind of lost me right now. It's a wonderful book. So probably those right now are top my list of favorites.
Thank you.
Sarah is waiting. She wants to ask you something, Sarah.
Hi, Ashley. I want to ask you, who is your favorite character from your book, This Is Our Story?
You gotta love Kate. I love Kate, but I also, my favorite part to write was the shooter, the little sections in between that you didn't know who it was until the end. And I won't say who that is for anybody that hasn't read that book, but if you've read the book, you know who I'm talking about. I loved writing those sections. They were fun to write because I had to, kind of give just enough away, but not too much. And I found that was really fun. So, probably that character.
Me too.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you still have more questions? I think that, yes. Juana.
Hi, Ashley. So I have this question. Hi. There are some debates about the age range of young adult readers. And many times young adult books are read not only by teenagers, but also by grown-ups, parents, or even grandparents. Could you give the older adults some reasons to read young adult literature and not to embrace this somewhat restrictive age label of young adult?
Yeah, that's one thing that always kind of, I hate when adults say things like, oh, I can't read that, that's for teens. And it's really not. The teen may be the main character, but she's living in a world with all ages. And I think it's a little dismissive to assume that an adult can't relate to anything that is happening to the teen, in my opinion. I mean, I'm an adult. I like to read YA, just as I would read a book about somebody that was 20 years older than me. Just because I'm not that age doesn't mean that I can't relate in some way or get something from it. So, I know you have to categorize books, but I also think I can read middle grade. I don't have a problem reading about a 12-year-old main character. I mean, I think a story is a story is a story. And if it's well written and the characters are there and the landscape is lush and the story is vivid and bright, everybody should read it, So that's just kind of my take. I don't like how dismissive some adults can be about YA. That is kind of a thing that irritates me a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for that.
We have still now Sia, and after that, Adriana. Sia.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you, who's the author who inspires you the most and why?
Who's the author that? Okay, I read a book back in high school, and this is a very old book because I've been out of high school a while. But it was a book by Sidney Sheldon, and it was the first book that I ever read. I was in high school. It's the first book that I ever read that the plot twist, I did not see it coming. And like I'm reading, and he threw that plot twist in, and I was like, what? I mean, like, couldn't speak. Like, what? I had to take a moment for myself. And I loved that feeling. Like, I loved it. Like, I could not get enough. And then I wanted to read everything like that because I did not realize how powerful that could be in a book. And so when I first started writing, my mysteries and thrillers, I was like, what would Sidney Sheldon do? Like, what would he do right here? And I wanted to be just like him. So that was probably my biggest influence when I first started. And he was the one that I really would think, gosh, if I can pull off half of what he did, then I would consider myself a success because his was so good. So that's probably my biggest inspiration.
That's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll invite Adriana just now. Adriana?
Hi.
Hi.
Did you ever want to give up or something like this?
Did I ever feel like giving up?
Yes.
Yes, every time. There's not a book that I have written that at one point I didn't think I can't do it. There's always you get to a certain part of your edits and there's so much work to be done and you don't know how you're going to figure it out. And you don't know how you're going to make things work. And you just think I can't do it. But you just have to kind of push past that. So I think that's very normal. I feel similar ways during certain parts of the process. And it's just natural. It's a lot of self-doubt. But you got to kind of push past that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's fairly normal to feel like that.
Okay. What do you do to manage to fix this?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. One more time.
What do you do to manage to keep going?
Usually I have to just stop. I have to stop working on it. I have to put it away. Give myself some space and time from it. Maybe go read a book, watch a movie, do something totally different and just quit thinking about it. Sort of give myself a permission to have a little vacation from it. And usually when I come back to it, my mind is a bit fresher and I have a better attitude and I can maybe see things, that I couldn't see before. So that's usually in the past. What I have to do is just step away.
Okay. And I have one question. What do you think your characters would think about you if they meet you?
Well, hopefully they would like me. I don't know. Maybe some of them would. Maybe some that didn't end up well in my book, they probably wouldn't like me very much. But maybe for the most part, they would like me. I don't know.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is still Catalina here? She was the next one. We wait a little bit because Catalina stepped out. Okay. Is everyone else to Adriana? No, Adriana was...
I said.
Okay. Okay. Is someone else? Anyway, Ashley, I have to thank you very much. You are a wonderful author and a wonderful presence. And we are all waiting for your next book, for first of all, 10 for the companion, then Truth and the Dare. And thank you very much for inspiring us, all of us, teenagers and ever teenagers.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I love this. I love talking to readers. So this has been a joy for me. Thank you very much.
It's very inspiring to have an author and to speak about, to talk about books and about what you authors drives in order to write such an amazing book.
Thank you.
I am preparing to close the session, but I cannot say no to Sarah because Sarah wanted to ask another question, and she told that we love you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
We cannot.
I want to ask, what inspired you when you wrote the book, This Is Our Story?
Just, the idea of what it takes for, if there's a crime and if somebody's well connected and they get out of it, they try to get out of it, but there's one persistent person that wants to make sure that they're going to answer for it, and that's that sort of give and take, that tug and pull from, being, knowing friends and places that could get them out of trouble, but then somebody that just won't stop. So kind of the idea of that.
Oh, it's very beautiful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Catalina,
Bye.
Catalina is back. She was always with us, but she had some problem with the Wi-Fi. So, Catalina, if you are here.
Hi again. I'm sorry I had a problem. I wanted to ask what was the first book that made you cry?
Oh, gosh, let me think for a second. First book, I have to go way back. Gosh, I don't even know. It does not take much for me to cry. It does not take much. A well done commercial and I'm going to be crying. I don't know. I'm trying to think. It may have been, I read a really old book from Pat Conroy years ago, and it may have been that one, but I don't know.
Or somebody that had an impact on you that still stays with you till this day?
There's a lot. I also read Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I don't know if you've ever read that. It's about this thick. It's ridiculously long, but I loved it. It's probably one of my all-time favorite books. That has stuck with me because it was just this generation after generation after generation with the story that just kept going and kept going. And I really, really loved it. I think about it often. But I don't know. I've read, and I think they all impact you in certain ways, whether or not you even realize it. I think my murder mysteries that I write still had romance in them. There was still a love, interest in them, which is, when you read those kind of books and you think, oh well, yeah, that was fun and all, but that stuck with me enough that I put that element in books that weren't typically, romance books. So I think everything, good or bad, or you can read something and you hate it. And you're like, oh, I hate that. I hate everything about it. I don't want to have anything to do with it in my books ever because it was so horrible. But so I think there's a lot to be taken from everything you read.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ashley, listen to me. You are amazing. And I will
thank you.
read you some message. So thank you so much. We love you from Sia. And Miruna, thank you so much, Ashley. Love you.
Oh, thank you.
So,
when this whole quarantine thing is over, I'm going to come to Romania and we'll all get together in person. We'll do something there. That'll be fun.
It will be wonderful, and we'll do very soon.
Yes.
And, thank you very much. We can't wait.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The Cărturești, the bookstore, told you that they want to have you as soon as it's possible.
I will be there. I will be there.
Thanks.
Thank you. Y'all have a great night. Bye.
Bye.